You know, in cloud security, there's this massive shift happening, and it's happening right now. We are finally moving away from those risky, hard-coded secrets and stepping into a world of verified identities. This is especially true when we're connecting to services like Azure Storage. So let's break down why this is such a huge deal. So let me just ask you this straight up. Is your biggest cloud security risk hiding in plain sight? Like right there, inside your application's code? I think for a lot of us, the answer is a surprising and maybe even a little uncomfortable yes. All right, let's really get into this. The whole shift we're talking about, it's all about moving from an old way to a new way. We're talking about ditching shared secrets for verified identities. We're swapping out these risky manual processes for ones that are secure and totally automated. The real heart of it is this. We're moving from proving access based on what you have, like a secret key, to proving access based on who you are. But to really get why this is such a game changer, we've got to look at the old way first. We need to talk about the problem with secrets. So traditionally, you know how it goes. Developers use things like connection strings that have that super powerful account key baked right in. Or maybe you're using shared access signature tokens, SS tokens for short. They're a little better, sure, but they all boil down to one thing. You're stuck managing secrets. And this is the real problem. Secrets are just a massive liability. They get accidentally checked into source control, they leak into log files, they get mishandled by team members, or they just expire at the worst possible moment and bam, your application is down. Honestly, managing them is just a constant headache. But okay, thankfully, there is a much better way to connect, a more secure way. And this new approach, it builds a foundation for our applications that's just fundamentally stronger. So the solution is a service called Azure Entra ID. And I want you to think of it like an identity bouncer for the cloud. Seriously, instead of showing some secret key that, let's be honest, anyone could have stolen, your application proves its own unique identity to get in. It is a complete paradigm shift. And the benefits here, they are huge. First off, no more secret keys. None to store, none to manage, none to rotate. Gone. You also get this incredibly fine-grained control using something called role-based access control, or RBAC. On top of that, this whole approach works consistently across tons of Azure services, and it has native support for managed identity, which is really the gold standard for anything running inside Azure. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does this actually work under the hood? And the answer is, it's surprisingly elegant. Probably the best way to think about it is like this. Imagine instead of giving every single one of your applications a copy of a universal master key, one that can open every door, this method is more like each application showing a temporary, verified ID badge, and that badge only grants access to the specific doors it's allowed to open, and only for a very short time. So here's how that whole flow works, step by step. First, your app asks Enter ID for a token. Simple enough. Second, Enter ID does its thing and verifies your app's identity. Third, if everything checks out, Enter ID issues a short-lived token that's scoped only for Azure Storage. And then finally, your app just presents that token to storage and it gets access. It's simple, it's secure, and it's completely automated. Now, the most crucial point, the whole reason we're doing this is, with this flow, there are absolutely no keys, no connection strings, No SAS tokens, not in your code, not in your configuration. They are just gone, completely eliminated. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in practice, in the code? Well, you're probably going to be shocked at just how simple this is. It's this one line of code right here. That's the magic. It's a single line of C# code and this one object. It unlocks the entire secure process we've been talking about. You see, the beauty of it is that this one line of code handles all the complexity for you. The Azure SDK is smart enough to automatically figure out the best way to authenticate, no matter what environment your code is running in. So how does it know what to do? Well, it cleverly tries this chain of different methods. First, it's going to check for environment variables, which is great for production. If it doesn't find those, it looks for a managed identity, which is perfect for code running inside an Azure service. And if that's not there, it'll check if you, the developer, are logged into tools like Visual Studio or the Azure CLI. This makes local development an absolute breeze. All right, so now that you know the what and the how, let's wrap this up with a few critical best practices to help you put all of this into action. Rule number 1, and this is non-negotiable. Use role-based access control, not shared keys. This is all about the principle of least privilege. So if your app only needs to read data, you give it the Storage Blob Data Reader role. Nothing more. That's it. And rule number 2, if your application is running inside Azure, I don't care if it's on a VM, in a function app, wherever, you should always be using managed identity. It is the most secure method, period, because it takes credentials completely out of the equation. The identity is tied directly to the Azure resource itself. Okay, and here are a few more quick pro tips for you. First, avoid hard-coding things like storage account names. Use configuration. Second, log everything. All your download activities, everything. It's absolutely crucial for auditing and compliance. And finally, for your apps to be really robust, make sure you're using retry logic to handle those little network hiccups. When you boil it all down, it really comes to this. Moving to an identity-based model gives you authentication that is just fundamentally simpler, way safer, and a whole lot more scalable. And make no mistake about it, this isn't just some clever little trick. This is the new standard for building secure, modern applications in the cloud. The days of passing around secret keys, yeah, they're over. So, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Now that you know there's a better, more secure way to connect to your cloud services, what's the very first secret that you are going to go and eliminate from your code?